2023. Can we start with a huge round of applause from everyone, please? Thank you. My name is Sanchali Arora.
Hi, my name is Manoj Pardasani, and we are your hosts for today evening.
A very, very warm welcome to all the dignitaries and leaders who have joined us here to make this evening extremely, extremely special. Well, we have gathered here today to recognize the Indian corporates for their commitment and leadership towards adapting the best practices when it comes to ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance.
It is in very interesting times that you're hosting this ESG Awards and Conclave 2023. To my mind, ESG is a critical enabler that is transitioning India's growth journey as a country. This is reflecting across the thought process around regulatory frameworks, government priorities, company strategies, consumer behavior, and equally important, the investments. Just a few days ago, the Reserve Bank of India released the framework for green deposits. A few weeks ago, the SEBI released new guidelines for reporting by listed corporates. This year's union budget, as you are all aware, had significant emphasis on green growth and significant capital allocation for energy transition. Business and investors need to recognize the urgency and importance of the situation and play an active role in promoting the ESG practices.
Now, the theme for this year's KPMG ESG Conclave and Awards is Thought, Action, Impact. It is what we really mean by that is strategic thought, sustainable action, and stakeholder impact.
We have a very interesting evening planned today. We'll start with opening remarks from our CEO at KPMG, followed by an address by a guest of honor, Union Minister Shri Nitin Gadkari ji. We will be joined by Honorable Cabinet Minister of Maharashtra Shri Sudhir Mungantiwar ji. We will hear from Honorable Union Minister Shrimati Smriti Irani ji. Our chief guest of the evening, Maharashtra Chief Minister, Mr. Eknath Shinde, he just called us. He may or may not make it to the venue. We are trying to see if he'll be here or he will join us online, but we will be there. And we will obviously have the ESG awards, which is the most awaited segment of today's evening, and we have two very interesting sets of panel discussions planned for you. And of course, we will celebrate over cocktails and dinner after that.
Well, this is a pivotal year for worldwide change and, of course, transformation. And more than that, it is a milestone year for us at KPMG as the firm completes 3 decades. Come on, everyone. 30 years in India, taking on the responsibility of steering and influencing industries, communities, and, of course, the government. So let's begin this evening with a huge round of applause, please, for this pioneering initiative by the organization in the realm of consulting firms in India. And with that, I will take this opportunity to invite right here on stage, once again, with everyone putting their hands together, Yesdi Nagpurwala, CEO of KPMG in India.
Distinguished guests, industry colleagues, members of the audience, on behalf of my colleague partners and KPMG in India, I wish you a good evening and a very warm welcome. India marches ahead into Amrit Kal on a foundation of robust economic growth, infrastructure development, a skilled young demographic, and a remarkable digital transformation story. As aptly stated by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, India's journey to the centenary of its independence will not only be a period of national development and glory, but also an occasion where the country will play an important role in giving direction to the rest of the world. The world economy today is in turbulent times. Amidst geopolitical challenges, amidst the war, there is a recessionary trend. We have COVID-19 resurfacing in different forms. We have aspects of poverty, climate, healthcare, all putting sustainable development growth at the center stage. As the current president of G20, we have an opportunity to push for priorities which not only help India, but also transform part of the world. ESG, environmental, social, and governance, hence takes an urgent focus area on this frontier as a bright spot in the global economy. India today steps towards building a strong ESG framework in line with developments of the rest of the world. The European Union, for instance, has asked industry and financial institutions to factor in ESG into its decision-making process. Not only decision, but also its disclosure aspects. ESG has permeated into policymaking and institutional investment frameworks in North America. In fact, more than 90% of the S&P 500 now publish ESG reports in one form or another. Countries like UK and New Zealand have already made mandated climate-related financial disclosures. The shift is driven more than just hype and more than media attention. The underlying drivers of real growing change are broken into three. First, there is a clear existential threat to humanity, and the cost of inaction is rising. Second, the cost of taking action is gradually coming within reach, especially as prices of clean energy and transportation are dropping. And third, and perhaps the most important, stakeholders, especially millennials, increasingly want companies and corporates to act. The social dimension of ESG is gaining prominence. The rising profile of ESG is very evident in investments, in investor attraction, and a different lens to decision making. Collective thought and action are the need of the hour. To seize these opportunities and integrate ESG in its true sense, let me highlight calls to action. One is a continued policy and regulatory emphasis. We already have SEBI's BRSR mandating the top 1,000 companies, and that's a step in the right direction. And there is further guidance coming in, which will be a game changer on all ESG parameters. The recently formed International Sustainability Standards Board also hits the ground running. There is recognition of a need for consistent and comparable climate-related financial disclosures and a cross-learning approach for ESG. Second is easing capital access for sustainable initiatives. Reports suggest that India faces a financing gap of USD 565 billion on an annual basis towards achieving its goals of SDG. But these gaps also emerge as opportunities which can be addressed by easing access to capital across sunrise sectors such as green buildings and EVs, which create a positive impact. Third, and perhaps applicable to all of us here, is stewardship by corporate India. As per the 2022 KPMG CEO Outlook survey, majority of the CEOs across the world observed the adoption of ESG initiatives positively that impacts financial performance while addressing various stakeholder expectations. Corporate ESG goals need a holistic approach to ensure that they not only take into account their own carbon footprint, but also the wider ecosystem. I am proud to share that KPMG, as an international network of member firms, was amongst the first in our diversity and to publicly catalog our ESG commitments and report against them back in 2021. Through our impact plan, we have committed to achieving net zero by 2030, 33% diversity in our leadership, and economically empower 10 million disadvantaged young people through education, employment, and entrepreneur opportunities. We are deeply committed to that agenda through our bouquet of homegrown and co-created applications. We are creating a positive difference for our clients, the broader ecosystem, as well as their ESG journeys. As we mark 30 years of operations in India, we aim to bring together thought leaders, change makers, to deliberate and discuss the way forward through a convergence of thought, action, and impact. This evening will also recognize trailblazers across categories of environmental, social, and governance through the KPMG ESG Excellence Award. I thank our esteemed jury members who have had a tough task identifying the winners. As the evening progresses, we will be joined by special guests to share their perspectives on the ESG India journey. We have Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Union Minister of Road, Transport and Highways, Government of India, who will join us through a live stream shortly. We also are honored to have Shri Sudhir Mungantiwar ji, our Honorable Cabinet Minister, Forests, Cultural Affairs and Fisheries, Government of Maharashtra. And later this evening, we will know whether our Chief Minister, Shri Eknath Shinde ji, will join us in person or otherwise through live telecast. A special to Srimati Smriti Irani, Honorable Union Minister of Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs, Government of India, for sending us a special message and to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this meaningful journey, we are grateful for your presence here today. With this, I welcome you to the first KPMG ESG Conclave Awards 2023. Thank you.
In the evening, and of course, giving us an overview as to what is lined up today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to introduce our first guest of honor for the evening, Shri Nitin Jairam Gadkari ji, Honorable Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, who is also known as the Infrastructure Man of India, who has been an ESG warrior due to his sheer commitment of promoting the use of alternative fuels that are both cost-effective and pollution-free.
Mr. Gadkari also introduced the first ever motor vehicle scrapping policy in fight against pollution and road and vehicle safety. The new FASTag policy launched by him proved revolutionary in saving the two most important resources for commuters, fuel and time. The monumental Namami Gange project gathered a lot of traction as a mass movement under his guidance and his tenure as the Union Minister for Water Resources and Ganga Rejuvenation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, Shri Nitin Jairam Gadkari ji, who is joining us live on a video link. Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us.
Thank you. Namaskar. Sri Sudhir Mungantiwar ji, Honorable Minister for Forest, Cultural Affairs, Fisheries, Government of Maharashtra. Sri SD Nagpurwala, CEO, KPMG India. Distinguished dignitaries and guests, leaders from corporate India, invitees, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends. I feel privileged to be joining you all virtually and address this esteemed gathering at the KPMG ESG Conclave and Awards 2023, the flagship event of KPMG India. I would first like to acknowledge KPMG for being proactively associated with us since last 3 years as our partners in assisting our ministry. Sustainability is an important part of the government of India's priorities and an important pillar of the nation's growth. Good and transparent governance is a hallmark of the current government, and our initiatives have been focused on holistic development. Given the significance of ESG, environment, social, and governance, I am pleased to KPMG India has taken this initiative to launch ESG Conclave and Awards. My compliments to KPMG India for this initiative, which brings together leaders and stakeholders at this forum. I think such discussions are very timely as in the period of India's G20 presidency. Globally, India's leadership is being talked about and how India can possibly be the answer to the world challenge. The theme of this conclave is thought, action, impact. It holistically transpires the India's commitment of achieving sustainable development goals by 2030 and net zero emission by 2070. This target set by our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, and it is very much achievable, and the determination is clearly evident through the recent green budget. In this context, the awards become important as they promote the path of growth, which is sustainable and responsible. And conclaves like this aid to create an atmosphere which is favorable for sustainable growth in the country. In recent years, we have seen a growing commitment from companies across industries to incorporate sustainable practices into their day to day activities, and it is encouraging to witness the increasing recognition that ESG is not a choice but a necessity for businesses to thrive in this era of climate change, social inequality, and economic uncertainty. The government and businesses in India have been increasingly recognizing the importance of incorporating ESG factors into their operations. The SEBI has mandated top 1,000 listed companies to report their ESG performance in line with the business responsibility and sustainability reporting framework. As India moves ahead on its path towards being the $5 trillion economy by 2025, it is important that this economic growth is sustainable over long term and does not come at the cost of ecology or people. That is very important. I strongly believe that societies must be livable, workable, and sustainable. And therefore, we need to establish equilibrium between ecology, environment, and economic development. Whenever we talk about the sustainability, the most important aspect that comes to the top of the mind is climate change. India is particularly vulnerable to the impact of climate change, such as extreme weather events, water scarcity, and rising sea levels. Even at Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, we have faced significant challenges this year in ensuring that the work happens on schedule due to unforeseen rains. Therefore, it is imperative that we focus on implementing sustainable practices that reduce our environmental footprint and protect our natural resources while also promoting social equity and responsible governance. Green growth is one of the Saptarushi seven priorities of the Union Budget for first year 2024, and green growth efforts with the help in reducing carbon intensity of the economy and provide for large scale green job opportunities. The focus on green hydrogen, renewable energy, and clean transportation form the bedrock of India's economic and sustainable growth. A growth that lives on one behind and represent our PM's vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas. The budget provides rupees 35,000 crores for priority capital investment towards energy transitions and net zero objectives and energy security. The National Green Hydrogen Mission, with an outlay of rupees 19,700 crores, will reduce carbon intensity and dependence on fossil fuel imports. Rupees 20,700 crore for 13 gigawatt renewable energy evacuation from Ladakh and 500 new waste to wealth plants under Govardhan scheme will be established for promoting circular economy. I urge my fellow citizens to leverage green credit program, and this will incentivize environmentally sustainable and responsive actions by companies, individuals and local bodies. Further, the Government of India through its various ministries is working towards this direction. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is also taking several green initiatives like promoting electric vehicles and alternative fuels, encouraging use of bitumen and modified bitumen, using waste for road construction, tree bank policy, green highways mission to protect environment and promote sustainability. I am also giving you the successful example. In Delhi Ring Road, we have already used 20 lakh ton of municipal garbage in the road construction. In Dolero Ahmedabad Express Highway, we are using 20 lakh ton of municipal waste there. Now we are going to formulate the policy and we will support the contractor for taking the equipments where they can segregate the solid waste. And this is very important because this can resolve the problem of pollution. At the same time, we are now formulating the policy making bitumen from rice straw, popularly known as parali. And because the burning of parali is a big problem in Delhi, in particular Punjab and Haryana, it is a big problem that the farmers are burning the parali and which is going to create pollution in Delhi. Now we have the successful technology which is proven by Central Research Program Organization and CSR, by which by 20 lakh of capital, the farmers can convert parali into biobitumen, 70% biobitumen and 30% biochar, that is organic carbon. Presently in India, we have requirement of 80 lakh ton of bitumen, out of which 50 lakh ton of bitumen we are getting from Indian refineries and 30 lakh ton is import. Now by using this parali, I am 100% confident that we will purchase that bitumen and we don't need to import that. It is going to create growth, wealth in the rural and agriculture area, creating more employment potential. I also requested the Honorable Minister of Environment and Forest for giving permission for import of used tire, waste tire. Today I am really happy that we are using 15% of rubber powder in the bitumen. That is to be very important, it's a cost effective because the bitumen rate is more than 50,000 and the rubberized powder is less than 30,000. So this is also a good thing. Now just 3 days before I have a big meeting with the steel industries in the presence of steel secretary. The iron slag, steel slag which is available as a waste material, the quantity is huge and now our plan is to make the policy that using of all this steel slag for using in road construction. I am really happy. Now we want to encourage the construction equipment manufacturers and contractors for using particularly high, big quality, big production capacity construction equipment on electric LNG, and alternative fuel. We can use ethanol on all generator set. That is the reason that we have to protect the air pollution, water pollution, and sound pollution. I will give you a good example of success story. When I was water resources minister, we have selected one project in Mathura, where it is the project in hybrid annuity, and where 40% of grant in aid is given by the government and 60% from the investor. And 80 mld sludge of Mathura is now, they are making the recycling of it, getting clean water, and that water is given to Indian Oil, Mathura refinery, and they are giving 20 crore rupees per year as a royalty for that water. The project win by the company name as Triveni Engineering, and this is proved to be a successful experiment. Now, this is the time for I will request all of you, and particularly the KPMG, that we can make this waste to wealth economy, which is very important. One is knowledge to wealth, another is waste to wealth. I feel that we can make this economy of 5 lakh crores. The water is available. 7 years before, we are selling the sewage water of Nagpur in my own constituency to government of Maharashtra, and now we are getting the royalty of 300 crore rupees per year. I am really happy that waste to wealth and knowledge to wealth, these are the important philosophy for the future. The futuristic development and futuristic technology regarding related with the this particularly conversion of waste into wealth is very important for our economy. At the same time, this circulation economy, which is going to create more jobs. Now we have already launched the policy for scrapping policy, and which is very important for the country. Now we have shortage of aluminum, copper, rubber, and plastic. Everything we are importing. The upper size of our automobile industry, where my ministry is in charge for that, the size is of 7.5 lakh crore. This is the industry which has given maximum GST to the state and central government. This is the industry which up till now create 4 crore jobs. Now our mission is to make this industry of 15 lakh crore. And today we are all world reputed automobile brands are present in India. We can export two-wheelers, three-wheelers, even buses, trucks, cars, and I'm confident that it is to be going to be create more wealth for the country and creating more employment potential. So this is the time we have to protect ecology and environment. We have also planted about 3.0 crore plants up to February 2023 across 900 national highways, project having length of 50,000 kilometers. And now we are making e-tag of 2 crore 68 trees, and we have successfully transplanted the 90,000 trees. We need to work more in this field. This is really important for the country. And on back of this initiative, Government of India and the World Bank have signed an agreement for the construction of Green National Highway Corridor Project, GNHCP. This project has an aggregate length of 781 kilometers in the state of Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh, with the loan assistance of $5 million, rupees 4,200 crores, against total project cost about $1.2 billion, rupees 10,000 crores. The objective of the Green National Highway Corridors project is to demonstrate safe and green highway, keeping in view climate resilience and use of green technology. Recently, we also installed bamboo crash barrier on highway stretch, which are successfully tested at CBRI. This is really a great achievement. We can make bamboo crash barriers, and that is we can create the job for the tribals and the youth in the rural area. This is already a technology point of view proved and verified by all the technical agencies. The Roorkee and certified by Indian Road Congress. This is already we have got the certificate from IRC, and this is very important as far as the ecology and environment of the country is concerned. We have taken multiple steps to facilitate the use of ethanol, methanol, bio-CNG and bio-LNG vehicles while constantly revising emission norms of reduced pollution. Just 1 month before, I got opportunity to launch 20 buses in Bangalore State Corporation on adding 20% methanol in diesel. We are getting methanol from the coal. At the same time, Ashok Leyland manufactures a truck on 100% biomethanol, 100% on methanol. Though the methanol rate is 25 rupees per liter as compared with the diesel, huge saving is there. So this is the time for all of us that we have to protect the ecology and environment and taking new initiative. I have got the car on hydrogen. The name of the car is Mirai. In Japanese word is Mirai, and Mirai's meaning is future. So it can be, we can get hydrogen from water, sewage water. We can get hydrogen from biomass and organic waste. And even we can make hydrogen from the coal. Even we can make hydrogen from the petroleum. But we need to give priority for green hydrogen. And that is to be the future. Further, we are exploring technology for automatic toll-free collection in multi-lane free flow mode to reduce greenhouse gas emission for vehicles. As we move ahead on this path of sustainability, I strongly believe that we can make our environment cleaner and also help to save India's fuel import bill of rupees 16 lakh crore annually. While we in the government will continue to play the role, it is important for all of us to play our part in whatever way we can. Businesses specifically have the power of innovation, which can use to develop new solutions across various dimensions. For instance, for decarbonization, solar and wind are very good choices. However, biofuel and hydrogen will also play a critical role in future. At the same time, geothermal and nuclear power also we need to have think on that line. The thorium, we have got the stock. Now we have got lithium ion in Jammu and Kashmir. That is to be a great achievement for the country. I am expecting that within 2 years, the cost of petrol vehicle, diesel buses, trucks, cars, three-wheelers and two-wheelers will be the same as far as on electric. And now there is a waiting list for the electric vehicle. The government push to use of ethanol as fuel and its production from surplus and damaged food grains and like rice, corn and sugarcane is very encouraging. It will also help farmers in a big way. The efficient use of surplus sugar, rice and maize stock as well as production of second generation ethanol from bamboo and agri biomass can completely change the fuel landscape in India. Recently, we launched the first ever methanol fuel buses in Bangalore as a part of the Mission Clean Energy. We also introduced a truck that runs on 100% methanol. By adopting such alternative fuels, not only will the industry be able to cut emissions and save costs, but it will also benefit the farming scenario of transforming our farmers from Annadata to Urjadata and now Urjadata to Dambardata, bitumen data. There are two important philosophies which always I am telling to the people, touching to my heart, that conversion of knowledge into wealth, and your role is very important, conversion of knowledge into wealth. The innovation, entrepreneurship, all the science, technology, research, skilled and successful practices, we name it as knowledge and conversion of knowledge into wealth. That is important, and you are the master of all these things. At the same time, waste to wealth is equally important. Second philosophy, which is really important, that conversion of waste into wealth. Nothing is waste. With appropriate technology and vision of the leadership, we can convert waste into wealth. I know that the contribution of KPMG in the different projects. The people like you who lead already leaders of corporates, they can take the initiative. And this public-private investment is going to helpful for protecting our ecology and environment, at the same time conversion of waste into wealth. By recognizing the efforts of Indian corporates for their ECG initiatives, I am hopeful this will encourage many others to follow in their footsteps and contribute towards a sustainable future. With that, I would like to commend all the final panelists and winners for their contributions towards making our world a better place. Let us keep pushing the boundaries of what is possible and striving for even greater excellence in ESG. I wish success for this conclave and encourage all the participants, organizations, corporates, and youth to contribute towards achieving the nation's environment, social, and governance goals. It is our responsibility to hand over this planet in a better state to our future generation. If we all remember this one statement, then it will be easier for all of us to achieve our ECG goals. I also compliment KPMG India for hosting an excellent ECG conclave with a very thoughtful focus and providing me this platform to share my views. Thank you all and congratulations to all the winners. I also take the opportunity to congratulate KPMG, which is celebrating its 13th year of operations in India. I wish KPMG team all the very best, and again my best wishes to all of them. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Dhanyavad.
धन्यवाद माननीय Shri Gadkari ji for very insightful, very encouraging thoughts. Uh, you gave so many examples, which are all live, real examples of how things are changing around us and the role that your ministry and other government agencies are playing. I can see this is already touching our lives. It's really very encouraging. We look forward to your leadership and guidance in months and years to come. Thank you. Thank you. Very big applause for Gadkari ji. Ladies and gentlemen, we now would like to welcome and we are honored to have amongst us a very warm welcome to Honorable Cabinet Minister for Forests, Cultural Affairs, Fisheries from Maharashtra, Sri Mungantiwar ji, as he's just arrived here as our next guest of honors.
So thank you very much for joining us here today.
Sri Mungantiwar ji's political journey includes a vast span from a simple activist to a cabinet minister. He has successfully held various appointments, including being the Cabinet Minister for Tourism and Consumer Protection, Cabinet Minister for Finance, Planning and Forest Departments, and also the Chairman of the Maharashtra Legislative Public Audit Committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, some of the initiatives taken by him that has made an impact on the lives of people in the state of Maharashtra include Gadkari Sanman Yojana, and we would want you to applaud for the same, please. Evidence-based project management system, making Maharashtra the first state to implement such a system, planting 50 crore trees across the state. Let's give it up for that, please. We are very sure that in the future we will witness many more initiatives impacting lives of citizens under his dynamic leadership. I would also like to mention that KPMG has been fortunate to support various departments under Sri Mungantiwar and has helped in bringing rigor and efficiency in the delivery of services to citizens and internal stakeholders. With those words, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor now to request the Honorable Minister to join us here on stage. Thank him for taking out time, for being here with us from his busy schedule and gracing this occasion. Sir, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause, please.
वंदे मातरम। मैं सर्वप्रथम केपीएमजी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। मैं उनका आभारी भी हूँ कि आप सभी महानुभाव आदरणीय व्यक्तियों का दर्शन लेने का मुझे सौभाग्य है। जिस विषय के लिए हम सब एकत्रित हुए हैं, मैं समझता हूँ ये एक ईश्वरीय कार्य है। 456 करोड़ वर्ष के पृथ्वी के इतिहास में सबसे सेल्फिश अगर कोई जनरेशन रही है तो वो हमारी है। छोटी सी गिलहरी भी अगर कोई बीज अपने भविष्य के लिए रखना चाहती है और जब भूल जाती है, वो भी हमें पर्यावरण में एक पेड़ निर्माण के कार्य में अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से योगदान देते हैं। मगर हम सब लोग तो यही रिसर्च में लगे कि सीडलेस फ्रूट हमको कैसे मिले। हमको कोई घर खरीदना है तो उसके सामने तो गार्डन चाहिए। अगर जंगल के आसपास है तो उसके पैसे भी हम ज्यादा देते हैं। हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि 1820 में इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन के बाद 202 वर्षों में 456 करोड़ वर्ष में जितना नुकसान इस वसुंधरा माँ का नहीं हुआ, उतना हमने 200 वर्ष में किया 50% जंगलों को नष्ट कर दिया। अब ऐसे सेल्फिश विचारों से हमें सोशल मार्ग पे अगर जाना है तो मुझे याद है कभी किताब पढ़ते हुए 1820 में जब इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन हुआ
तो जिसने उद्योग निर्माण किया वो सिर्फ अपने उद्योग के बारे में सोचता था। फिर कुछ वर्षों के बाद उनके ध्यान में आया कि मैं सिर्फ उद्योग के बारे में सोचकर काम नहीं जमेगा, मुझे जो ग्राहक मेरे उद्योग की उन्नति के लिए काम करते हैं उनके बारे में भी सोचना होगा। फिर ध्यान में आया कि जो ग्राहकों के साथ मेरे उद्योग में जो कामगार भाई काम करते हैं, जिनके आधार पर मेरा उद्योग फलता है, फूलता है, आगे बढ़ता है, तो मुझे कामगार हित की भी बात सोचना होगा। फिर इस रिवॉल्यूशन के 202 वर्ष में एक टप्पा ऐसा आया कि जिसे हम कारपोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात करते हैं, उस पे हम चले गए कि हम ग्राहकों का सोचे, उद्योग का सोचे, कामगारों का सोचे, मगर उसके साथ समाज का भी सोचे। और अब हमारा अगली बात आई है वो है कि हम पर्यावरण का भी सोचे। धन तन को समाधान दे सकता है, पर्यावरण मन को समाधान देगा। मुझे याद है कि मैं फॉरेस्ट मिनिस्टर हूं और ताड़ोबा में मैं घूमने गया। आखिर तो मैं फॉरेस्ट मिनिस्टर हूं परिवार के साथ। तो ऐसी ही एक इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट परिवार की महिला मुझे मिलने आई। बोले आप तो मंत्री हो। मगर हाँ, तो ताड़ोबा में इंटरनेट नहीं है। मगर हाँ नहीं है, मगर मेरा आग्रह है कि आप कुछ भी हो जाए यहां पे कोई भी नेटवर्क मत गाइए। मैंने बोला क्यों? ताड़ोबा में नेटवर्क नहीं गाना है, कोई टावर नहीं खड़े करना है, क्या कारण है? मगर मेरे पति ने 15 महीनों में जितनी मेरे से बात नहीं की, 15 दिनों में उससे ज्यादा बात ताड़ोबा में की, क्योंकि यहाँ नेटवर्क ही नहीं है। तो अब धीरे धीरे हम सब लोग पर्यावरण के महत्व को जानना शुरू हुआ है, मगर अब एक्शन भी करना होगा। अब एक्शन के दृष्टिकोण से केपीएमजी ने हम सभी को एकत्रित बुलाते हुए जिन्होंने पर्यावरण क्षेत्र में अपनी जिम्मेदारी का निर्वाह किया है। धन तो चाहिए, मगर धन के साथ मन का समाधान भी चाहिए, जंगल से जीवन के मंगल तक। किसी ने सही कहा, जब मैं फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर था तो मेरे एक मंत्री ने पूछा, अब फाइनेंस भी है और फॉरेस्ट भी है, सबसे अच्छा विभाग कौन सा है? मैंने बहुत सहजता से उसको कहा कि जब कभी आप नोट गिन रहे हो तब सांस बंद करके गिनना, आपको कौन सा विभाग महत्वपूर्ण है ये ध्यान में आ जाएगा। मैं समझता हूं कि अभी हमारी सबकी जिम्मेदारी है और हम वसुधैव कुटुंबकम को मानते हैं। कौन कितना कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड छोड़ता है मुझे पता नहीं, कौन से देश के आंकड़े मुझे देखने भी नहीं है, पर मैं इस देश से पर्यावरण की बात कह रहा हूं जहां सदियों से सनातन धर्म ने पर्यावरण के महत्व को जाना और इस महत्व के आधार पे हमारा धर्म खड़ा है। और इसीलिए भगवान कोई भी हो, वड़ की पूजा सिखाई गई। आज भी कई महिलाएं बरगद को धागा बांधकर कहती है कि 7 जन्म मुझे ये पति मिले। मैंने इतना ही कहा, इसको थोड़ा जीआर बदल दिया फॉरेस्ट मिनिस्टर बनने के बाद। मैंने कहा जो विधायक बरगद के पेड़ लगाएगा वो कम से कम 7 बार चून के आएगा। जो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट उद्योगपति बरगद के पेड़ लगाएगा उसकी इनकम टैक्स भरने की क्षमता 7 गुना ज्यादा हो जाएगी। इतना ही जीआर बदल दिया है। तो सीएसआर में से आज ही मैंने प्राइम मिनिस्टर सर को पत्र लिखने का निर्णय किया कि कंपनी एक्ट 2013 में थोड़ा सा बदलाव करके जो सीएसआर है उसमें चौथा हिस्सा सीईआर करो, कारपोरेट एनवायरमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ये विकसित करो। क्योंकि बहुत बार ऐसा हो रहा है कि हम समाज से लेते हैं, पर्यावरण से लेते हैं, पर्यावरण को देना ये भूल जाते हैं कि हमने सांस पर्यावरण से ली। और कोई भी व्यक्ति हो, सबसे नजदीक कोई है तो ये तो पर्यावरण और फॉरेस्ट विभाग है। पहली सांस लेता है तो मेरे फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट की लेता है। धन कितना भी कमा लो पर वन का नाता टूटता नहीं, क्योंकि जो कागज से नोट बनती है वो कागज भी वन विभाग के लकड़ी से ही बनता है। जिस पाठशाला में हमने ज्ञान प्राप्त किया वो किताब भी तो हमारे लकड़ी से बनी है, वो नोटबुक भी हमारे लकड़ी से बनी है। और आखिरी सांस जब लेंगे तो सिर्फ वन विभाग की लकड़ी ही लिपट के रहेगी, बाकी कोई लिपट के नहीं रहेगा। तो हमारे लिए धन इस जन्म के आखिरी सांस तक काम आएगा, मगर वन ये अगले जन्म में पहले सांस से काम आएगा। अब हमें ये सोचना है। मुझे जब फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर था तो यूरोप के 14 देशों के मिनिस्टर, 14 नेशंस के मिनिस्टर्स आए, पूरे देश में घूम रहे थे। मुझे पूछा उन्होंने कि हम तो इन्वेस्टमेंट करने का सोच रहे हैं, उनके पास तो पैसा भी ज्यादा है और 1%, 0% पे आजकल देते हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा कि हम देश में इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए घूम रहे हैं। तो मैंने सहजता से पूछा कि कौन से देशों में जा रहे हैं? बोला हम तो बहुत सारे देशों में इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए जा रहे हैं, एशियन कंट्रीज में ज्यादा घूम रहे हैं और वहां पे हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहते हैं। तो मैंने उनको सहजता से बोला अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट करना है तो भारत जैसा देश नहीं। तो उन्होंने पूछा क्यों? तो मैंने सहजता से बोला आप 50 देश यूरोप और बाकी जो आसपास के 72 नेशन है, सबकी लोक संख्या कम हो रही है, बढ़ नहीं रही है। और 7 धर्म पूरे विश्व में है जिसमें से 6 धर्मों में पुनर्जन्म माना है। आप पे भी धर्मों में पुनर्जन्म माना है। आपका जन्म फिर आपके ही यूरोप में होने की संभावना बहुत कम है, क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन कम हो रही है। बढ़ेंगे तो पुनर्जन्म भारत में ही होगा। तो इस जन्म की चिंता करते समय अगले जन्म की भी चिंता करो, इस देश में इन्वेस्टमेंट करो। ये इन्वेस्टमेंट आपको अगले जन्म में काम आएगा। और वही होशियार इंसान है जो इस जन्म का भी सोचेगा, अगले जन्म का भी सोचेगा। तो मैं आपको इतना ही आह्वान करता हूं, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम ये भाव के साथ विश्व गौरव प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 2070 तक हमने कार्बन न्यूट्रल की बात कही है, मगर ये कोई एक प्रधानमंत्री नहीं कह सकता। एक अकेला थक जाएगा, साथ ही हाथ बढ़ाना ये हमारी सबकी जिम्मेदारी है। और केपीएमजी के श्री मिस्टर एसडी नागपुर वाला को धन्यवाद दूंगा कि आज उन्होंने इस विषय को लेकर काम किया। मैं भी बहुत कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाता हूं मगर उनका विषय एक ही होता है कि धन से धन को कैसे बढ़ाना। मैं यहां आया हूं केपीएमजी के कार्यक्रम में कि धन से वन को कैसे बढ़ाना। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाओं के साथ आपको भगवान बहुत तरक्की दे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
श्री मुंगंतीवार जी, आपके शब्दों के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। If I may now request Yezdi to come on stage and introduce and welcome Chief Minister Maharashtra Eknath Shinde ji. He's unwell, so he's joining online. He's there. Yezdi, please. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor for me to introduce Honorable Shri Eknath Shinde ji, our Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Eknath Shinde ji, Sainik, and his story of growing from a grassroots leader to reach the helm of power is an inspiration to all of us. His first key political position was a corporator in Thane Municipal Corporation in 1997. And by 2019, he was elected for the fourth consecutive time from Thane. Eknath Shindeji has also served as Cabinet Minister, Union Development and Public Works between 2019 to 2022. Over his political career of 30 years, he has emerged as a Jan Neta, known for his proactive approach towards resolving issues of public interest. He has always been true people's representative, listening, connecting, and empathizing with citizens on their issue. Apart from Honorable Chief Minister's great ability to connect with common people, he also has an equal focus on robust and sustainable development of the state. And under his leadership, our infrastructure facilities in Maharashtra will take a new dimension altogether. Several projects have got a boost, including the Trans Harbour Link, the Coastal Road, the Mumbai Metro, and the Samruddhi Mahamarg. We are sure the state of Maharashtra will witness newer heights of growth under the leadership of Eknath Shindeji, our Chief Minister. I would also like to take the opportunity of mentioning to our Chief Minister that all of us in KPMG family, our teams work with the government and public services practice, and they are working in more than 25 departments of government of Maharashtra and supporting them in delivering critical citizen services, monitoring of infrastructure projects, facilitating investment promotion, and investing and assisting in areas like education, skilling, and transport. Once again, please join me in welcoming Eknath Shindeji.
नमस्कार। केपीएमजी ईएसजी कॉन्क्लेव और अवार्ड फंक्शन में उपस्थित हमारे सीनियर मिनिस्टर सुधीर मुनगंटीवार जी, एचडी नागपुरेवाल जी, मीडिया के सभी मेंबर्स, सभी उपस्थित डिग्निटरीज, गणमान्य व्यक्ति और मित्रों, आज मैं इस शुभ संध्या पर आयोजित इस बेहतरीन समारोह के लिए मैं ESG means environment, social and governance कॉन्क्लेव एंड अवार्ड्स में शामिल सभी प्रमुख अतिथि, इंडस्ट्री, कैप्टन्स, जूरी मेंबर्स और मान्यवरों को भी मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं, उनको भी शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। आज सभी पुरस्कार प्राप्त विजेताओं का मैं तहे दिल से अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं। इस तरह के पुरस्कारों से आने वाले जनरेशन को भी प्रोत्साहन मिलता है, उनको अच्छा काम करने का और भी मौका मिलता भी है, और कई लोग ऐसे लोगों का अनुकरण भी करते हैं। I give my best wishes to all guests, industry captains, jury members and other dignitaries Even I congratulate all award winners. मैं इस अवसर पर केपीएमजी को विशेष रूप से बधाई देना चाहता हूं। KPMG has completed 30 years in India. आप भारत में 30 साल पूरे होने का जश्न मना रहे। अब KPMG इंडिया में लगभग 40,000 लोग काम करते हैं KPMG के। KPMG महाराष्ट्र सरकार की योजनाओं में भी हमें मदद कर रही है। अभी हाल में दावोस में आयोजित इकोनॉमिक फोरम में, वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम में महाराष्ट्र सरकार का जो सहभाग था, उसकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट थी, इसमें भी KPMG ने बहुत बड़ा योगदान निभाया। उनका बहुत बड़ा प्लानिंग था और हमारे इंडस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट को भी KPMG ने बहुत सहयोग किया है। आप सभी को पता है, पिछले 8-9 महीने से हमारे राज्य में शिवसेना भारतीय जनता पार्टी की अलायंस की सरकार स्थापित हुई है और यहाँ पर हमारे लोगों का काम शुरू हुआ है। एंड वी आर वर्किंग होल हार्टेडली फॉर द वेलफेयर ऑफ महाराष्ट्र। भारत के आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का भी हमें मार्गदर्शन मिल रहा है। मैं कहूँगा कि वी आर वर्किंग अंडर द गाइडेंस ऑफ ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी जी। Maharashtra is number one of the industry. In the infrastructure development, we have huge infrastructure for industrial development. We have huge connectivity, skilled manpower, ample land, and everything is very good for industrial development. Agriculture, revenue, and road connectivity with 14.2% contribution. Maharashtra is the biggest contributor of GDP. With 30% share, we are leading in foreign direct investment. We have one of the best road connectivity across the country. So you can see that Maharashtra is the growth engine of India. महाराष्ट्र ने जैसे $1 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था प्राप्त करने का टारगेट रखा है, जो हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का $5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी का टारगेट है, उसमें हम लोग समझते हैं कि हमारे महाराष्ट्र का भी $1 ट्रिलियन का जो पार्ट है, उससे हम अचीव कर सके। अभी हाल में राज्य के बजट में इसका रिफ्लेक्शन भी देखने को मिला है। हमने खेती, महिला, आदिवासी, पिछड़ा समाज, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, एनवायरनमेंट, ऐसे 5 तत्वों पर फोकस किया है। उसे हमारे आदरणीय उप मुख्यमंत्री और अर्थ मंत्री, इन्होंने पंचामृत की संज्ञा दी हुई है और इसमें सभी लोगों को हम लोग ने समाविष्ट करके लिया है। Even on the timeline of Niti Aayog, we have formed Mitra Institute. दावोस के वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम में हमने we have signed 1,37,000 crores और ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए एक मौका मिला है और मैं कहूँगा कि उसमें 30-40% लोगों को हम लोगों ने उनके इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए लैंड देने की भी शुरुआत कर दी है। उनको हम बहुत ही फैसिलिटी देंगे और आई वांट टू टेल यू दैट महाराष्ट्र हैज ह्यूज पोटेंशियल। वी हैव स्किल मैन पावर, मैंने अभी अभी जैसे कहा, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड एम्पल लैंड फॉर न्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स, और गवर्नमेंट इज industry friendly. We are pro development and pro industry. That's why Maharashtra is the favorite destination of investors now. हमारी सरकार आने पर प्रोजेक्ट ने भी रफ्तार पकड़ी है और डबल इंजन सरकार के कारण केंद्र सरकार का भरपूर हमें सहयोग मिल रहा है। आदरणीय मोदी जी है, आदरणीय गृह मंत्री अमित भाई शाह जी है। हमें जब जब इस राज्य के विकास के लिए आवश्यकता जो पड़ती है, उसे फंड के तौर पर भी, कोई परमिशन है उसके तौर पर भी तुरंत सहयोग होता है। ये हमारे लिए और राज्य के लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है। और इसीलिए समृद्धि हाईवे, जो हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहेब ठाकरे समृद्धि हाईवे जो हुआ नागपुर से शिरडी तक, उसका इनॉग्रेशन आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के हाथों द्वारा हुआ है। अभी मुंबई तक हम लोग इसी साल में मुंबई तक उसको शुरू करेंगे। ये समृद्धि हाईवे सिर्फ रोड नहीं है, सिर्फ हाईवे नहीं है, ये बहुत ही हमारे राज्य के लिए गेम चेंजर प्रोजेक्ट है। जहां पर 15-16 घंटे ट्रैवल टाइम था, आज वो ट्रैवल टाइम 6 से 7 घंटे पर आया है। बहुत ही गेम चेंजर प्रोजेक्ट हमारा, इट विल बी गेम चेंजर। आणि खरं और सही माने में यहाँ पर दूसरा कोस्टल रोड है, दिल्ली मुंबई एक्सप्रेसवे है, बुलेट ट्रेन है, मेट्रो के कई प्रोजेक्ट है जो हमारे आने से पहले बहुत ही ठप्प हो गए थे, काम बंद पड़ा था। लेकिन हमारी सरकार आने के बाद तुरंत इसे हम लोगों ने गति देने का काम किया है, आगे बढ़ाने का काम किया है। इसलिए मेट्रो, बुलेट ट्रेन जो काम है उसमें तेजी आ गई है। यहाँ पर मुंबई पुणे मिसिंग लिंक रोड हम कर रहे हैं, जो दुनिया का सबसे वाइडेस्ट टनल है। आज मुंबई पुणे अगर जाना है तो आप 3 घंटे में पहुंच सकते हो, लेकिन अब इस मिसिंग लिंक से घाट ये टनल जो ठाणे से मुंबई बोरीवली सिर्फ 10 मिनट में जाएगा, जो 2 घंटे लगते हैं वहां 10 मिनट। जो MTHL शिवड़ी नावाशेवा ट्रांस हार्बर लिंक जो है सिंगल लॉन्गेस्ट 22 किलोमीटर का सी ब्रिज है। आज 2 घंटे लगते हैं, सिर्फ 15 मिनट में ये नरीमन पॉइंट का जिसको रायगढ़ में जाना है सिर्फ 15 मिनट में पहुंच जाएगा। ये भी देखिए गेम चेंजर प्रकल्प हम लोग कर रहे हैं। ऐसे कई प्रकल्प जो है, विरार अलीबाग कॉरिडोर है, यहाँ पर प्रधानमंत्री गति शक्ति नेशनल मास्टर प्लान जो है उसको भी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है। और इसी के साथ जो भी यहाँ पर है, जिसके रोड अच्छे होते हैं, जिसका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, जिसकी कनेक्टिविटी अच्छी है, उस राज्य की प्रगति जोर से होती है और वहाँ काफी लोग इन्वेस्टर आ जाते हैं, उनको सुविधा मिलती है। और हमारी सरकार अभी मैंने कहा कि इंडस्ट्री फ्रेंडली है, प्रो एक्टिव है, प्रो डेवलपमेंट है। इसलिए यहाँ पर लोगों ने आना चाहिए और साथ साथ काम करने की आवश्यकता है। इसमें साथ ही पर्यावरण के मुद्दे जो है, एनवायरनमेंट का भी हम लोगों ने हर प्रोजेक्ट के समय ध्यान रखा हुआ है, वो भी डिस्टर्ब ना हो, इसकी पूरी तरह खबरदारी हमारी सरकार लेती है। और इसीलिए मैं कहूँगा महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी सीरियस अबाउट एनवायरमेंटल कंसर्न। हम पूरी तरह ध्यान रख रहे हैं। सुधीर भाऊ मुनगंटीवार वन मंत्री है हमारे, और उनका भी ज़्यादा ध्यान रहता है कि हमारा पर्यावरण, हमारा जंगल की सुरक्षा कैसे रहे। ये सब बातों पर सरकार पूरी तरह काम कर रही है। इसलिए जमीनी स्तर पर पर्यावरण की अनवरत सुरक्षा और पुनर्निर्माण के लिए महाराष्ट्र में बहुत बड़ा अभियान हम लोग चला रहे। और इसीलिए मैं आप सभी लोगों को एक मुख्यमंत्री के नाते कहूँगा कि पिछली सरकार में क्या हुआ, इससे मैं कुछ नहीं बोलना चाहता हूँ, लेकिन हमारी सरकार जो है एक बहुत ही पॉजिटिव, प्रैक्टिकल और प्रोएक्टिव है। इसलिए जितने भी लोग यहाँ पर आएंगे उनको पूरी तरह सुविधा मिलेगी। उनको उनका जो भी बिजनेस यहाँ करना है, सिंगल विंडो क्लियरेंस होगा, सब्सिडी, कैपिटल सब्सिडी होगी, और भी GST में जो उनको सहूलियत देनी है, ये देने का काम हमारी सरकार पूरी तरह करेगा। यही मैं आज इस आपके कार्यक्रम में कहना चाहता हूँ। फिर एक बार केपीएमजी जो ऑर्गेनाइजर है, हमारे केपीएमजी ने जो कॉन्क्लेव का आयोजन किया है, उनको मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। ऐसे कॉन्क्लेव के आयोजन से कई लोग जो काम अच्छा करते हैं, उनको उनको अवार्ड मिलता है, तो उनको और भी काम करने की ऊर्जा मिलती है और अच्छा काम करते हैं, और उनका देखने के बाद और कई लोग अच्छा काम करने लगते हैं, उनका अनुकरण करते हैं। और इसीलिए ऐसे अवार्ड फंक्शन, ऐसे कॉन्क्लेव इस समाज के लिए, राज्य के लिए बहुत ही फायदा इससे होता है। इसलिए मुझे आपने यहाँ पर आमंत्रित किया था। मैं डायरेक्ट आपके कार्यक्रम में बहुत ही मेरी इच्छा थी आने की, लेकिन वो मौका वहाँ आने को नहीं मिला। लेकिन मैं आपसे वीसी के माध्यम से जुड़ा हूँ। भविष्य में जब आपका दूसरा कार्यक्रम होगा तो प्रत्यक्ष रूप से मैं जरूर आऊँगा। इतना ही मैं कहूँगा। और सरकार में, हमारे शासन में जो जो लोग यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, आगे और भी आना चाहते हैं, उनको किसी भी बात की तकलीफ ना हो, इसकी पूरी जिम्मेदारी हमारी है। आप आइए, इस सरकार के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर, हाथ से हाथ मिलाकर हम काम करेंगे। इस राज्य का, इस देश का विकास होगा, तो ये खुशी आपको भी मिलेगी और हमें भी मिलेगी। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र।
एक बार फिर से जोरदार तालियां हो जाएं हमारे माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महाराष्ट्र श्री एकनाथ शिंदे जी के लिए। सर, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और हमें पूरा यकीन है कि आपके नेतृत्व में जिस गति से महाराष्ट्र प्रोग्रेस या की ओर आगे बढ़ रहा है, वो इसी तरह बढ़ता रहेगा विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में। आपके प्रोत्साहन के लिए, आपके सहयोग के लिए और आपके बहुमूल्य समय के लिए आपका तहे दिल से हम धन्यवाद करते हैं। आइए एक बार फिर से जोरदार तालियां हो जाएं। A huge round of applause for the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now, and it's my honor to introduce our next guest of honor, Srimati Smriti Irani ji, Honorable Union Minister, Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs, Government of India. She is the India's youngest Union Cabinet Minister in the government and the first woman to hold office as Minister for Education and as Minister for Textiles. As Education Minister, Srimati Irani introduced various educational reforms to upscale India's capacity in the field of research, innovation, and technology. She was instrumental in conceiving the new education policy of India, first one to launch imprint that aided research, innovation, and technology among students and academia.
In the last 3 years, as the Minister for Women and Child Development, Srimati Irani ji has worked towards strengthening women and child protection services in India, including making child pornography a criminal offense under the POCSO Amendment Act. From pursuing permanent commission for women in the Indian Army to launching Saksham, the list of her contributions to the nation and its people is endless. Let us all put together our hands for the Honorable Union Minister Srimati Rani ji. She has sent us this video message as she could not join us in person.
Environment, social spending, social impact, and governance. This is the very foundation of the ESG awards as pronounced by KPMG. At the onset, my gratitude to Team KPMG for thinking of empathetic governance and rewarding such leadership. Much has been said about India's contribution on environment, gender justice, and sustainability. The fact that at the G20 presidency, India has brought gender justice center stage is something that I celebrate not as a political activist, but as a female citizen of our country. 480 million Indians under Modi's leadership for the first time now have a bank account courtesy Jan Dhan Yojana, of which 220 million women now also are a part of the Mudra Yojana as entrepreneurs is a matter of great pride for me. The fact that women now have permanent commission in the Indian Armed Forces is a reason for all of us to rejoice, especially the girl child. We in the Government of India under Prime Minister Modi's leadership have borne witness to the fact that 30 million homes have been built for the poor in our country, in which the Prime Minister has insisted that ownership rests with the women in the family. That the vaccination drive during COVID has shown the world that we can be a part of the global supply chain without compromising on quality and can deliver with alacrity is something that brings a lot of confidence in the slogan of Atmanirbhar Bharat. When the world's back was to the wall during the COVID pandemic, we in India, and especially Indian corporations, did not profit from misery. And that is why, as the Prime Minister says, in this Amrit Kal, let us all not only contribute, but resolve to building an inclusive future, a gender just future. And in that very direction is the ESG award, courtesy KPMG. You will celebrate leadership at its very foundation in corporate governance. My best wishes to all those who are considered, and a hearty congratulations to all those who shall receive this award. I was hoping to be there amongst you, but I shall cheer for you from the sidelines, not only as minister, but also as citizen. Congratulations.
Thank you very much to the Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for the most awaited part of the evening. I already see a smile on everyone's face. And if that smile can translate into applause, we will know we are ready. Come on, everyone, put your hands together because it's time now for the KPMG ESG Excellence Awards 2023. Come on, everyone, we need to hear it from you. I need a lot of energy in the room now. Thank you. Keep that going. Keep those smiles intact. And with that, let me request the Honorable Minister to kindly join us here on stage amongst a round of applause from everyone. Can I request YesD to please join us back to help us do the honors? And ladies and gentlemen, we would like you all to please put your hands together for our jury members, without whom this process would not have been possible. So thank you very much for your efforts. I will be inviting Mr. O.P. Bhatt, Ms. Aditi Haldar, and Mr. Mukund Rajan to join us on stage for the first set of awards. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be taking the liberty of stopping the awards when I feel the energy in the room is low. So please make sure that the energy is off the roof. Can we please do that? Come on, let's do a small sample of the same. Thank you very much.
Okay, kicking this off, our first awards in the space of energy, natural resources, and chemical sector. The award for environmental initiatives goes to UPL Limited. May I request Mr. Raj Tiwari, Executive Director and Global Chief Supply Chain Officer from UPL, to please come and receive the award. For this award, UPL, having taken significant strides towards energy transition, UPL Limited is moving towards sourcing 50% of their energy requirement from renewable resource sources. UPL's unique initiative to trade field crop carbon credits, selling approximately 20,000 credits from rice farmers who were able to reduce methane generation, is certainly noteworthy.
A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for UPL Limited, our very first awardee for the evening. Moving on now, under the same industry, which is energy, natural resources, and chemicals. The next category is for social and governance. And the winner is, can I build up some excitement? Well, if you want to guess, we would love that. Any guesses coming from the audience by any chance? Well, I'll give you a small hint and you can prompt. The name of the company starts with T. T? Come on, give it to me. Okay, I'll do this one time. The Tata Power Company Limited, congratulations, requesting Praveer Sinha, CEO and Managing Director, to kindly join us on stage to receive the award. Well, the Tata Power Company Limited has upheld a legacy as the North Star for its achievements in community welfare and customer relationship management. Its CSR initiatives have positively impacted over 30 million people across 80 plus districts in 15 states. Their effort is not limited to community welfare. The organization continues to strive and make improvements in becoming a safe and inclusive workplace for all genders. Tata Power's sustainability governance structure with board-level committee involvement to oversee ESG issues, strategy, and implementation have enabled it to maintain sharp focus on sustainable growth. Further, Tata Power has set business-wise targets for the prioritized SDGs to create a roadmap for greater impact. We cannot thank them enough for their efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we congratulate Tata Power Company Limited for winning the award under the category of social and governance under the broad ambit of energy, natural resources, and chemicals.
Okay, we keep moving. We'll go to a different sector, a very, very different sector, the pharmaceutical and the healthcare sector. We have a very interesting winner here. The winner takes a champion award for all the three categories of environment, social, and governance. And that goes to Cipla Limited. Gentlemen, ladies, please put your hand together. May we request, this is Gina Malhotra, Global Chief Technology Officer, to come and receive the award. Cipla Limited's initiatives under each of the pillars, environment, social, and governance, are notable. Cipla has reduced their GHG emissions by 16%, waste disposal by 30%, and water withdrawals by 17% in FY22. Under their social and community building initiative, they have provided essential drugs for 94% for non-communicable diseases considered essential under WHO's essential medicines. The company has also achieved a 30% quorum for women on its management council. From a governance perspective, Cipla has taken strong measures on tax transparency and set wide-ranging multi-stakeholder goals with a target for achievement by 2030. Once again, congratulations to Cipla Limited.
A huge congratulations to you. Thank you very much for joining us here. And with that, can we have a huge round of applause for our jury members, please, who have joined us here? We'd like to thank you and request you to kindly take your seat, while I will be requesting the presence of our next set of jury members, whom we would like to welcome on stage with an equal amount of love and energy. Can I please request Mr. J.B. Mohapatra, Ms. Beroz Gazdar to please join us here. We'll request the
Mungantiwar ji, आप जा रहे हैं हमें छोड़ के?
थोड़ा सा समय और अगर आप हमें प्रदान कर सके तो हम आपका तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करेंगे. Thank you very much. Let's hear it for the honorable minister, please. सर, हम जल्दी करने की कोशिश करते हैं. Let's move on to the next award, ladies and gentlemen. This is for the industry, technology, media, and telecom under the sector, under the category environmental. And the award goes to Tata Consultancy Services Limited. A huge round of applause for them. Can I request Alok Kumar, Vice President and Global Head, Delivery Center Management and Shared Services, to please join us here on stage. TCS has launched various initiatives around emission, energy, and water reduction. They draw over a third of their electricity needs from renewable sources and have almost halved their energy consumption over the past 6 years. They have achieved an ISO certification for energy management, providing over 1,500 manpower of energy management training annually. Their technology-forward approach involves adopting IoT to monitor, analyze, and provide real-time alerts on energy conservation measures, furthering their efforts. TCS has also taken a unique step in developing biologically diversified landscapes within the areas of operation. Congratulations to you.
Moving ahead, in the same technology, media, and telecom space, the social award goes to Wipro Limited. We may not have anybody from Wipro in the room. I'm requesting our KPMG partner Sai Venkateshwaran to please accept the award on behalf of Wipro. Wipro Limited's efforts in corporate citizenship, philanthropy, human capital development, labor practice, and privacy protection are exemplary. With presence in over 66 countries and a human capital strength of 240,000, Wipro preparing their workforce to be future ready is truly inspirational.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to Wipro. Moving on to the next award under technology, media, and telecom, this time for governance. And the award goes to Infosys Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, can I request Anantha Radhakrishnan, Executive Vice President, Managing Director, and CEO, Infosys IBM, to please join us here on stage. Infosys Limited has a sharp focus on governance, especially business ethics, information security, and cyber security. It has instituted an ESG committee on board level to develop and update its ESG vision and goals, review ESG performance, and review any statutory requirements. The organization continues its endeavor in enabling their employees through digital transformation, and their board level involvement and commitment for driving the ESG roadmap is exemplary. Congratulations, Infosys Limited. Thank you very much, our jury members, and quickly inviting Mr. Amit Tandon and Ms. Tanya Singhal to join us next year on stage, our next set of jury members. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for them. Straight away, moving on to our next award.
In the consumer markets sector, once again, this is a champion award for all the three categories of environment, social, and governance for consumer market. Guess what? This award goes to Hindustan Unilever Limited. May we invite Mr. Ritesh Tiwari, Executive Director, Finance and IT, and CFO, Mr. Deepak Subramaniam, to come and receive this award. HUL has made great strides across ESG themes, achieving 100% renewable grid electricity across all its operations and becoming plastic neutral in 2021. HUL has positively influenced over 70 lakh people in the areas of empowerment, environmental sustainability, health, and education. They've also enabled access to safe sanitation for over 3 lakh people under the Swachh Bharat mission. Give it up for Hindustan Unilever Limited.
Congratulations. Quickly moving on now to our next industry, which is financial services, and the categories, two categories, social and governance. The award goes to HDFC Bank Limited. Congratulations. Ashima Bhatt, Head, Business Finance, Strategy, Administration, Infrastructure, and CSR, joining us here on stage. HDFC Bank Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, we need more applause than what is going on, please. HDFC Bank Limited embarked on a large-scale cultural transformation to nurture, care, and collaborate, which was deployed across the entire organization to overcome the challenge of influencing its sizable employee base of over 1.4 lakh people. They have been making notable efforts in financial inclusion, human capital development, corporate social responsibility, with a strong focus on training and development and workspace gender diversity. Has had a focus on adopting global best practices in governance, evident through its board committees, along with strong focus on transparency and accountability, which is one of the stronger pillars of the financial industry. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for HDFC Bank Limited. Once again, thanking our jury members and inviting, amongst a round of applause, Ms. Kalpana Morparia, Mr. Joe Felon, and Mr. Tejinder Miglani on stage for the next set of honors. Ladies and gentlemen, our jury has done a remarkable job, a job which was not easy, so they definitely deserve more of an appreciation from everyone in the room, please. Thank you. Moving ahead.
The next award is in the space of industrial manufacturing and automotive. The first award is in the category of governance. This goes to Mahindra and Mahindra Limited. May we request Abanti Sankar Narayanan, Executive Vice President, Group and Public Affairs, to please come and receive the award. Mahindra & Mahindra has leveraged digital tools to ensure smooth governance across its operations. Mahindra & Mahindra have also instituted compensation policy for senior management linked to ESG and sustainable factors, showcasing its commitment to ensure sustainable growth. Congratulations, Mahindra & Mahindra.
They say we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is then not an act, but a habit. And everyone who's winning right here is habitual of winning and showcasing excellence. So let's give it up for everyone here on stage, please. Thank you, and a huge congratulations to you. Moving on now within the same industry, which is industrial manufacturing and auto, the category being environmental and social. The winner is Hindalco Industries Limited, requesting everyone put your hands together for Praveen Maheshwari, CFO, Anil Arya, Deputy CFO, Vaishali Surivar, Chief Sustainability Officer, who will be joining us here on stage to receive the award. Well, Hindalco Industries Limited is leading the way with over 150 initiatives in energy and emission reduction and renewable energy deployment. As it continues its commitment to net zero goals, joining the movement with several other pioneers, today we recognize their effort in reducing water consumption within operations and enhancing community conservation efforts. It is one of the very few organizations to become water positive across mining operations. In the social category, It has shown excellence in their approach towards delivering value for its stakeholders, from communities they nurture to employees and suppliers, enabling great impact. In 22-23, they increased their focus on safety with an organizational benefit of reducing time lost to injury by 39%. Their awareness initiative, Safety 360, extends beyond its operations to include the families and children of employees. Additionally, Indelco has positively impacted over 12.6 lakh people through its community initiatives, winning an award under 2 categories, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it up for Hindelco Industries Limited. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank
to
you. Our next category and the last set of awards for today in the infrastructure and real estate sector. Uh, 2 awards, environment and social. These awards go to Godrej Properties Limited. Namrata Mehra, lead ESG and head of design, marketing and customer from Godrej. Please come and receive the award. Godrej has stood out in their effort to integrate sustainability across projects, maintaining at least a silver rating or equivalent green building certification for all project sites. They've also been targeting zero untreated discharge from sites and maximizing the use of recycled waste. We applaud them for their transparency in disclosing their carbon emissions beyond their operations. Their focus on inclusive growth is a testament to their organizational philosophy. They aim to achieve a 30% gender diversity and 3% representation from LGBTQ plus community. Congratulations to all the award winners. May we request all the award winners of all the categories and all the jury members to please come on stage for a group photograph along with the minister, Shri Mungantiwar ji as well. We know he has to go for a flight, but please come and join us for a group photograph. Thank you.
We would love it if you can carry your trophies along. It will be nice to get that in the picture. It will make for a perfect moment. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone who's seated in the room and everyone who's walking up to this stage, this is a frame which is for the very first edition of the awards. Deserves a huge round of applause. We want everyone who's joining us here on stage to bring in a big, broad smile so that we can freeze this moment in history forever. What a remarkable moment this is. What a beautiful frame this is. The leaders of the industry are standing right here on stage, making for a perfect photo of a moment which is going down in history. Ladies and gentlemen, as we smile through it, feel proud of the fact that everyone out here who's on stage is working towards a cause, which is great, not only for them, but also majorly for the country at large. Please put your hands together and acknowledge their efforts. All the winners right here on stage. Can everyone please put their hands together for one last time for all the winners, please? Well, the idea is that everyone should be visible in the frame and we should see a nice smile on your face. That's all. Thank you, sir, for putting your hands together. Everyone else still can. Thank you.
Mungantiwar ji, आपके 2 मिनट और सिर्फ. Yesdi, if you could please felicitate Mr. Mungantiwar with a small token of our appreciation.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor. Can we have a huge round of applause for the Honorable Minister who took out more than his valuable time to be here with us? And we would like to acknowledge the fact, can we have a small memento as a token of our appreciation and gratitude being presented to the Honorable Minister, please? Yes, if you can kindly. So we would just like to present a small memento. पर्यावरण के हित में हमारे पास एक छोटा सा तोहफा है आपके लिए, जिससे आप इस दिन को हमेशा याद रखें। और हम आपका तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करते हैं कि आप आज यहाँ पे आए हैं। Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Honorable Minister. Thank you, ESD. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Friends, we'll move into the next segment. We'll request KPMG partner Sai Venkateshwaran to explain the awards methodology. Sai, over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a privilege to be here with all of you this evening at this inaugural edition of the KPMG ESG Excellence Awards. Clearly, this was something that we should have done before the awards were given away, but
I think late is always better than never. And I wouldn't be doing justice for all of the hard work put in by several of our team members and in particular the jury members. We saw all of them on stage, but I need to kind of talk through the process that they went through to actually select these winners for you all to really appreciate what it took to get here. So India has clearly set its agenda in terms of its sustainable journey through its commitment to meeting the SDGs by 2030 and net zero by 2070. And corporates are kind of keeping step with that, and corporate strategies today aligned to priorities on climate change, on decarbonization, on circularity, looking at diversity, inclusion, and equity, and a whole bunch of other initiatives, and all of it on a strong foundation of governance, together with robust reporting and assurance. So it's in this context, towards enabling greater dialogue and action, that KPMG is hosting this KPMG ESG Excellence Awards. As the first major awards program of its kind, it's a pioneering initiative both to recognize the contribution from corporate India and also to build the momentum for greater action through acknowledgement and positive reinforcement of all of the actions that are making an impact today. We do acknowledge that ESG reporting is in its nascent stages, and as a result, information that's available in the public domain is fairly limited on various ESG parameters. And of course, when you compare it with the more mature elements like financial performance and corporate governance. However, we need to make a beginning, and there's never a perfect time for all of this, and hence, I think here we are. So thank you for joining us as we embark on this new journey with you. And to steer us through these awards, we have brought together this stellar jury. You've seen all of them, and they obviously represent multiple stakeholders and whose backgrounds are as diverse as the topic of ESG itself. And in this inaugural edition, the focus has been on listed companies, and the awards are to look at their initiatives across environmental, social, and governance domains, and where possible to look at it on a more holistic basis. To assist us with this process, we had support from S&P Global, who have been our data partners, and we have used data sets from S&P Global's Corporate Sustainability Assessment and other publicly available information to shortlist companies and evaluate performance on various parameters. We also compiled information from various other data sources, including performance indicators for all of these companies, and also the information submitted by the corporates themselves. This was then followed by a jury evaluation process based on a variety of factors, including materiality considerations, the policy frameworks, the nature of initiatives adopted, the best practices undertaken, and performance across the key performance indicators and public disclosure and reporting. And of course, also looking at soft aspects, including media reports and other unstructured data, and overall the impact that was delivered by these companies. So the jury also had the discretion not to select a winner for a particular sector or domain based on their review. So while I describe the process in the last couple of minutes, let me give you some statistics to bring this to life, to also let you know the mammoth task that actually the jury undertook to kind of get here. So we looked at 52 companies in depth, reviewing about 114 reports between integrated reports, sustainability reports, and other annual reports. A team spent over 4,000 hours compiling almost 15,000 data points, generating 1,500 pages of output for which is served as the input for the jury to evaluate, and across 350 documents that were recently compiled for them. And most of this is very patiently reviewed by the jury over about 20 side meetings that we had with several members and collectively, and 2 days of jury deliberations that we kind of went through to ultimately come up with the winners across the 7 sectors. So I think a big round of applause once again for the jury for all of the hard work and all the other team members that put in a lot of effort to kind of get us where we are today. Moving ahead, yeah, I think we've already seen all the jury members, so I don't need to introduce them again. Looking ahead, I think it's important to acknowledge that we made a start here today, but I think there is a lot more that can be done. Like I said, this is still day one for us. And as we look ahead, there are many more areas for us to focus on and identify champions, the real change makers, and those who are willing to walk the path less traveled. And as themes for the coming years, we want to recognize corporates that are undertaking holistic ESG transformation, conglomerates that are committing to sustainability at scale, champions of sustainable finance, financial institutions that are emerging to a fresh trajectory on financed emissions, corporates that look at tax transparency, of course, the whole impact of value chain transformation, looking at climate change impact and CSR and its impact on society. So we'll continue to look at new themes for the coming year, and we will continue to stay engaged with corporate India through the years. And we want to go beyond just the large cap companies. I think next year's awards will also focus on mid cap and small cap companies. And we also want to look at the unlisted companies because they are also a large part of the kind of business kind of community in India. And we will also look to recognize other key players, including not-for-profit organizations and individuals who are ultimately making an impact in this area. So with that, let me hand this back to Manoj and for the next segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai, for giving us those details. It's very clear how detailed an exercise it was and how we got here. Thank you to the jury members once again, and all the companies that worked with us through this period for this evaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, we now get into the first of our panel discussion. We have a very interesting group of professionals with us. May I invite on stage our panel members, Mr. O.P. Bhatt, Independent Director and former Chairman, State Bank of India. Mr. Praveer Sinha, CEO and Managing Director, Tata Power. Ms. Zareen Daruwala, Cluster CEO, Indian South Asia Market, Standard Chartered Bank. Mr. J.B. Mohapatra, former Chairman, Central Board of Direct Taxes. Ms. Aditi Haldar, Director of South Asia Global Reporting Initiative. And my dear colleague, Shivanand Shetty, Head of ESG Advisory at KPMG India. Of course, this panel will be moderated by Ashutosh Sinha, a senior editor at the Economic Times. Ashutosh, this is your panel.
Yeah.
Just a minute or two before we settle down, please. Thank you everyone for your patience. My name is Ashutosh Sinha. And well, since you've been patient and you've been so listening to everyone, let me start straight away with the conversation and let me toss to Mr. Bhatt. And first question, sir, running a bank like SBI in the past, and with that perch, want to understand how do you see, I want to understand the big picture from you. How do you see the emerging situation as an independent director? How do you notice the changes that are happening? Your words.
So thank you. So how do I see it as a?
You've seen India Inc. as a banker, and running SBI more than 20% of India's banking industry.
The good thing is that the conversation around ESG has been there for a very, very long time now. So that is really a good thing. And if you look at it in State Bank of India, way back when I was there, I think in 2007 or 8, we set up a windmill so that it could generate and compensate for some of the energy that we were using at the bank. So this is 2007 or 8, about 15 years or 16 years ago. So there has been a lot of awareness and conversation around it for a very long time. In fact, now recently, the State Bank of India has committed itself to be carbon neutral by 2030. The only bank in India which has committed to that. And I think the only corporate in India which is committed to that within this short time span. There's nobody else, right? So other banks are following suit. They are doing a lot of work on that. On that, there is no doubt. But how do you look at the way it is happening? I am not very happy or comfortable about what is happening. And because I see it from a slightly different lens, if you were to ask the corporates, they are doing far more today than they were doing yesterday, maybe 10 times. Some of them are doing 100 times. But what worries me is, and what many people may not be aware of is, that as far as this climate crisis is concerned, there are certain tipping points. If you overreach those tipping points, you are done, right? So for example, this is balancing on my hand. When will it fall? When will it fall? It will not fall when it comes here. It will fall when it is here, somewhere in the middle, right? So we are not aware of the tipping points which are coming very close together, about 10 or 12 of them, and suddenly there'll be no more tomorrows. And somehow the corporate leadership, the political leadership, the global leadership is either not realizing this or is not generating the kind of emotional energy which will make things happen in this direction. So from that perspective, I'm not very happy. So they're doing a lot of work on awareness, on conversations, on events like this. There's a lot of work on ESG metrics, which gets recorded and recognized. There's a lot of work on that. What is the impact on the ground? Still getting hotter every day. We are still heading towards doomsday. If you ask the people who know, the scientists, if you ask people who are in the climate change panel globally, they will tell you that we are not doing anything to what has been committed in the various global conferences on climate change. And I say this with a lot of feeling and heart. I have children, I have grandchildren, and I'm almost 90% sure that my grandchildren will lead a miserable. And why I'm saying this here is because I also honestly believe that the corporates are the most powerful movers and shakers anywhere in the world. Some of them are, larger than the top 100 companies in the world, 100 countries in the world, right? Some of them as large as that, right? And they are not, I think, doing enough. I also know why they are not doing it, right? So there are issues of
So
capex.
we'll come to that. That's a very interesting. since you said, I also know why they aren't doing it. We'll come to that in a bit.
Okay. So I'll stop here.
Sure, sure. So we will come back to you. Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah, good point. Mr. Sinha, the hard to abate sectors, because Mr. Bhatt, the way he spoke about, what is the trajectory there when you see it as an energy company, as an energy industry? What is the trajectory that you see?
Thank you, Ashutosh, and thank you, ESD and KPMG for giving the opportunity to join today in the evening, and thank you for the award also. Uh, I think I must compliment KPMG for bringing up such an important issue, and I think ESG is important, but let me just focus on the E part of it right now, and we talk about the environment and sustainability and how important it is. And you rightly mentioned, I come from power sector. Power sector is 30% of the total pollution comes from power sector. Another 30% is from the automobile, from mobility, and another 30 is from the industry, and they are hard to abate industries which are there. And I think there has to be a sense of urgency. And what we have seen in last 10 years, we have moved a lot, whether it is the power sector or the mobility or hard to abate, but it has not moved to this level that it should have moved. Mr. Bhatt mentioned that he sees that his grandchildren will have problem with the way the environment changes are happening, and a hard to abate sector or any sector, I think we need to do corrective action quickly. We are running against time. Already the new report of IPCC talks about 2 degree that is already crossed, and it's code red, and it's now in here that things are happening. So I think the transition, everyone is talking 2070 net zero. Some countries are talking of 2035 or 2040. But I think this will be a very, very difficult decade for us. The type of extreme weather conditions that we have seen in last 20 years, more than 2,000 of them. And this is not globally, this is in India. This is happening here. We have cyclones on the west coast, which never used to happen. The cyclones on the east coast have become more intense and more frequent. And I think there is a necessity for us to transition very quickly. People talk that today we are 30%, we'll become 50% by 2030, 80% by 2040, and all sorts of numbers are there. But there is a big need. The transition that has to be done from the existing use of fossil fuel or brown generation of power, or even for the hard to abate industrial sector. They need to quickly find solutions. More money has to go in research and technology, whether it is in storage or it is in pumped hydro or it is in hydrogen. So I think there has to be a sense of urgency, and it cannot be business as usual. And I think a lot of reports are there. In fact, in last 1 year, I've seen 6 reports which have come, and these are from the International Energy Agency to World Economic Forum to everyone has come up with a report of what is business as usual and what if we have to really transition fast. But I think more action has to be done. There has been a lot of talk, and I think the KPMG slogan of thought, action, and output, the what is the and the impact. I think that's what is important. The impact has to be seen, and impact has to be seen in 2023, in 24, 25. Not saying that I'll see after 2030 and 2040. None of us will be here, or many of us may not be over here sitting in the hall. So I think we need to talk about much shorter timelines.
Okay, so, well, hearing Mr. Bhatt and hearing a banker, you know, I still see you as the banker that I've seen you so often on television. Ms. Darubala, in terms of the Indian and global landscape in sustainable financing, How do you see that evolving? If you can give the big picture, and we'll try and make it quick so that ask everyone and also get the audience involved, please.
I think it's okay. Yeah. So the global sustainable finance issuances have grown 6 times in last 5 years, and about $3.2 trillion has been raised in the last 2 years. Cumulatively, $6 trillion has been raised for sustainable finance. So to that extent, I think it's showing that that kind of investment is flowing back. The other interesting thing, if you see globally, is 55% is green, 25% is sustainable, and 20% is social. If you look at India, it's largely green. And India, it's just 1% of the global volumes. India has raised $22 billion of green issuances. 85% is green. And last 2 years, India has raised $22 billion. So that's broadly the broad numbers. If we look at, of course, I think from the regulatory standpoint, we are seeing RBI has brought out some guidelines which gives clarity on green deposits, and so has SEBI given certain guidance on disclosures, etc. So I think the regulatory framework is falling in place. But if you look at India's needs, India needs $1.6 trillion till 2030, and that won't come only from private sector, or it has to be government, multilateral, private sector, many other constituents sort of putting together to that kind of money to be mobilized for green finance. But if we look at some interesting stuff that is happening, actually G7 has worked with South Africa, and they want to replicate to other countries where the multilateral agencies, etc., have stepped in to give FLDG like guarantee equivalent and enhancing so that the transition happens. We've also seen some interesting stuff happening in India in the last 2 years where corporates have raised sustainability-linked bonds, whether for steel sector, ports, etc. It's in essentially transition finance. So we're seeing quite interesting stuff evolving in India also.
Okay, very interesting. So since you referred to the multilateral agencies, Mr. Mahapatra, if also we can talk about the government's role as a stakeholder, as the driver of change, how about trying to finance some of that transition and also through taxes by widening the tax base and raising taxes? If you can shed some light, what could be the opportunity and the way it could go about?
So tax policy is...
if you can get the mic closer to you, please. Yeah.
Can I get the mic? So, the tax policy is aligned to all other national policies on all other subjects. So, wittingly or unwittingly, over a period of time, we have made the tax policy as the underpinning of many other policies. For example, your national electronics policy or the national biotechnology policy or your national startup policy, you find a reflection of those policies in the tax, basically as a form of incentive. Even when it comes to ESG, many components of the ESG are now being presently catered to by the present tax policies. For example, pollution control or promotion of the renewables, that is part of the tax policy at this point in time as an incentive measure. And even for the social component of the ESG, growth, job growth, employment growth, we have a tax policy which caters to your demands. So in my view, over a period of time, the tax policy has been used to leverage the promotion and development of other policies. Over a period of time, gradually, for the last 6 to 7 years, we are finding the trajectory of the tax policies to be veering away from giving more deductions or more exemptions or more incentives on demand from interest groups and others, and to make it flat and low, the rates, right? At the end of the day, the rates are the ones which matter. So we have come from a point of 30% tax to 25% for a year. Now we are at the rock bottom, 22%, right? And for new manufacturing companies, it has come down to 15%. So if you have a low rate demanding more incentives uh, on the same components, I think it will be unreasonable. So because, in my view, the ESG compliant companies, if they are to be treated differently from the non-ESG compliant companies, that becomes a point of inequity, and that surfaces, the impact of those inequity will be surfacing in later years. So what I believe is that more as we build the ESG indexes in a more robust and precise manner, the market's attention to those companies, the valuation part at least, that will be impacted, right? So instead of seeking a tax leverage, it is, the benefits of the ESG compliance will be, reflected in many other matter and in many other times, many other varieties in the marketplace, and the best will survive in the final run. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Mahapatra. Ms. Haldar, in terms of the reporting initiatives, and we've just started that entire process, the non-financial reporting, what are the trends that's coming out? What should some things be that companies need to watch out for?
Okay, so I think reporting is all about information. Yeah, and India is taken this, I think, journey, especially with the SEBI's initiative to mandate the top 1,000 companies, listed companies, with the business responsibility and sustainability reporting. I feel, that's my personal opinion, that's really like the, just the point above on the whole iceberg. And what is important for any corporation to understand is that a report will give the top picture, but actually the major issues are beneath the water. And that's where I think the problem comes in. What are the matrices and indicators which an organization need to measure through a very systematic protocol that will lead the decision maker to understand where the action needs to be put? At the moment, very frankly, it's not happening. It's just a mandate that needs to be fulfilled annually. That has started, very good. That has been initiated by the regulator, excellent. But what happens beyond that? That's the point that I think organizations like KPMG and other organizations who are advising, who are doing audits, who are looking at reports, investors are looking for information, rating agencies are looking for information to rate them. I think that's where the whole, I think, point is that India needs to move from just coming up with a publication which is called the report to looking at where are the problems, where are the material topics. Even for this award, we looked at, material topics. And there were many organizations, the materiality analysis was not evident. We were not seeing information and topics which were disclosed, which were related to their core businesses. And that's where it is, what's the purpose of that business, that sector, that scale, that operation? And therefore, what are those environmental, social, economic, and governance issues which are important for the business to operate in the short term, medium term, and long term? And I will bring one topic before I hand over to the other, panelist, is that I think the whole, the corporate world, the government, including all of us, we have come to a very good DNA which has grown within us to look at only the quarterly reports. Our promotions, our actions, our decisions all happen with that short-term ones, yeah, majorly. But the medium term and the long term, which should have the vision and the strategy, does that include environmental and social topics? That's where the problem is. And therefore, I go back to my initial point of the matrices, that each of these small matrices should culminate into the big picture to enable the decision maker of the organization to take action and move ahead.
Long term, that's the fundamental. Mr. Shetty, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So India thanks to the regulator, has started that. What should companies be keeping in mind as they go about with their ESG-driven processes?
Tosh, the regulatory landscape is, across the world, not just in India, is evolving very fast, and it's getting complex. It's not just the regulated companies who would be impacted, but the other companies outside the regulation would also be impacted. Just to give you example, in India, we have 1,000 listed companies who would have to, report their ESG performance to the regulators. But then there are requirements around the supply chain, where these companies have to then start disclosing the ESG performance in their supply chain. So which means that they have to look at their suppliers. Many of them are sitting in the MSME sector. So these companies are not directly regulated, but they have to start reporting back. Similarly, we have seen CSRD regulation, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive regulation in Europe, which requires 50,000 European companies to start reporting their ESG performance to the respective regulators. So Indian companies having their operations in Europe have to start reporting their ESG performance of their European operation to the local regulators. Having said that, these companies also have to start looking at their supply chain. There is a requirement around disclosure. So which means that Indian companies exporting into the European market would have to start reporting their ESG performance to the respective customers in those countries, who would then report back to the regulator, which is making the whole process very complex. What companies should be looking at is understanding the fact that reporting and disclosure is just a part of the entire process. It's just a mean. It is, it's a process of communicating your performance to the stakeholders. What companies should be looking at is developing a strong ESG program, which is robust and resilient, right? Having a strong governance structure, which has got a senior leadership oversight, management commitment, identifying those ESG risks, integrating that with the ESG, the enterprise risk management program. And also, the ESG is also opening up new markets and opportunities. So companies should be looking at integrating this opportunities with the company's corporate strategy, covering their products and the services. Having said that, the ESG data, collecting the ESG data across their operations and in their supply chain is a complex process. Managing the ESG data and then, analyzing it, collecting it, reporting it is a complex process. And that's a big challenge for companies, especially when they have not embarked on it already. So having a strong, data and digital strategy is very important. As we are seeing, companies are deploying technologies like IoT to collect the data from the operations and then collating it, and then using technologies like AI. AI helps to optimize, look at the data, optimize it, thereby helping you to, manage your resources efficiently. So, using the digital technology. So it's important for the companies, to have a strong ESG program, and also leveraging digital technology would help them to, navigate through this complex, changing landscape, especially around reporting and disclosure.
Okay, Mr. Bhatt, I have to ask one more. I mean, have to ask this to you. Regulators and policymakers want companies to go the ESG way, focus big time. Do the benefits outweigh the investments being made? Or should we be actually looking at it that way?
So you have to look at benefits not in financial terms. You have to look at benefits in holistic terms. And if you look at it in holistic terms, I mean, otherwise this entire conference is a waste if people don't understand that holistically speaking, we need to make investments on ESG, particularly on climate change, right? So the answer is just right there. And just to put it slightly differently, because people have a lot of data and jargon and all those things people have. You said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right? And I'll say that anything that goes around comes around, right? Likewise, anything that goes up stays up, which is carbon. It's going to be there for 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, warming the planet, right? Warming and warming the planet. So the most difficult technology that needs to be mastered for it is The hardest technology is change in human behavior. There's no regulation for that, right? Tell me how many of you waste a little bit less water in the shower every day? There is going to be water scarcity. India is one of the countries which is going to be impacted the most by water scarcity in the next 15 or 20 years. How many of us do that? How many of us refuse to take that plastic bag which the shopkeeper, the sabji wala or the kapda wala gives? How many of us do that? There's only one hand that went up. 2, 3, 4, great! So point I'm making is that, you know, whatever we are doing from the institutional side, the corporate side, the regulatory side is not enough. And I think regulators should put pressure on corporates. So for example, to educate their staff on some of these parameters, something which I can do. If all of us do it, I think the impact will be far more than what the corporates are doing by way of ESG through the boardroom. And that is not happening. And I'm deliberately saying some of these things because I just want to give a jolt to people. I mean, you can talk, you know, other stuff about it, but yeah, I think this is far more important. So yes.
Point taken, sir. Ms. Daruwala, the E part is spoken quite a bit. S, relatively lesser. Would you like to elaborate on that? How can we really make that impact? Something that Mr. Bhatt is trying to cajole us into action, probably.
Yeah, I think in India, as I mentioned, even, the kind of bonds that are being raised or any financing, a lot of E is happening and rightfully so. I think S is to some extent, corporates are doing the CSR part of obligation, but I think little more can be surely done. So there was an interesting this thing that I came to know that 40 corporates in India have got together and they're actually going beyond their own ecosystem. And what you find is, for example, workers, who are not permanent workers in factories, they don't even know about their rights. They don't even know that they're eligible for ESIC or any of this. So these corporates have gone together and done a worker facilitation center. So such initiatives where corporates go beyond this, for example, our own bank, even when CSR was not mandatory, actually has spent about 1,000 crores on what we call seeing is believing, which is avoidable blindness. And India has the highest number of blind people. And we spent almost 1,000 crores over a few years globally. And the biggest beneficiary was India. So, for example, our own bank now, we are looking at planting 1 million trees. I know the government talked of 3 crore trees, etc. But I think this is our effort to sort of accelerate our carbon neutral thing. 50% of our branches have gone, on sort of renewable. But I think the S is something that I think all corporates should start thinking way beyond just their direct ecosystem.
Okay. Mr. Sinha, in terms of what metrics should the companies look at when they're looking to measure the impact being made in the energy part of the ESG journey? What would you say? What should they be measuring aggressively?
I think they need to, first of all, measure how much of emissions are happening. So the science-based target needs to be set, and what you measure, you will monitor. So I think the first important thing is measurement of what are your emissions, whether it is the gaseous emissions or liquid effluents or solid, and how do you monitor that and how do you bring it to net zero? Because unless you set a target for yourself, it would be very, very difficult. Secondly, I think it's also important that how you transition from conventional usage of energy to the renewable usage of energy. And I think that's a much easier target to do. There are very good solutions. If you do not have 100% solution, you definitely have a 60-70% type of solution which is available there. And I think the speed at which you need to do is something important. Sometimes we again get carried away that these have to be done over a long period of time, and you set an internal target, and so I think there has to be some stronger policies stronger regulatory mechanism, which should ensure that if you do such and such improvement, there is a certain incentive that you get more than the awards. And I think possibly that will incentivize people to go and implement them quickly.
Okay, Mr. Bhatt's words are ringing in my ears as as I go through. So we've run out of time, but I see, okay, I can see Mr. Chatwal sitting here. So, sir, can I ask you one question? Because it's the CEO dialogue we're trying to make in terms of Indian hotels. If you can share, given your experiences and the kind of effort that you've made, can you share some details of what you've done towards your commitment to ESG? Would you like to just share a few lines? If you can have the mic here, please. Or I can come and give it to you, sir. Okay.
I hope this one works. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to share my disappointment that Monami Yesdi has got me here, Indian Hotels, into ITC instead of hosting it, the event at Taj Mahal. So thanks to our colleague Praveer, the Taj Mahal Palace Tower has been certified as 100% green, and 68% of that has come through Tata Power, and 32% they enabled buying this international renewable energy certificates. So that means 8,000 metric tons just from that one property, equaling not 1 million trees, but 128,000 trees. So I think the theme is thought, action, and then impact. So as a thought, we came up with a program called Pathya, which we celebrated the first anniversary a few weeks ago. And Pathya has a thought of 6 pillars. And that includes preserving heritage, partnering, doing, a lot of things that we do, which creates certain actions. Right? The actions is 50% of all energy from renewable sources by 2030, and the rest is very easy to remember. 100% getting rid of single-use plastic, 100% recycling of wastewater, 100,000 people to be skilled, all this by 2030, 100,000 people to be skilled, of which 25% must be women. So also 100% compliance with the UNESCO's agenda on this subject. So a lot of those actions have been undertaken with measurable goals and a specific target that we'll do this in 7 years and create that happy one, as the Honorable Minister was saying, thinking of the one and not only the dhan, although of late we've also become very, very business focused as our results speak. Then comes the impact part. So action will create an impact. And impact is that sustainable, profitable growth built on strong pillars of ESG and sustainable tourism. That is also the agenda which will be unveiled between the 17th and 19th at the Global Investors Tourism Summit done by the Ministry of Tourism. And we've done that agenda that should help take the pre-COVID contribution from tourism to GDP of 7% to a double-digit number, and also to create from the current level to go up to 100 million jobs in India by 2047. So that's all coming under that agenda, India at 2047. So I think we do some things from a sector perspective, to answer your question, and certain things as a company. And as we all know that being part of Tata, somehow this all is already inculcated in the philosophy of the founder. And it's also gets automatic into anybody's DNA, including myself when I join. So I think we're on a good path. There's a lot to be done.
But we should also be proud of whatever we have been doing and been contributing, especially the crown jewel, the Taj Mahal Palace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chetwal. Thank you. We've completely run out of time. I'm sorry, we'll have to end it here. Handing it back to you, Manoj and team. Thank you so much. Sure.
Ladies, can I request everyone to stay with us for just a little bit more? Thanking firstly, of course, our moderator for the session. We would like to present a memento, a token of appreciation to all our panelists, if they can kindly join us back on stage. Requesting Sudhir Soni and Manoj Kumar Vijay, if they can kindly join us here to help us do the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause for the entire panel. Thank you very much, Ashutosh. Thank you for driving the entire discussion. Thank you to all the panelists for their opinions, their thoughts about the fact that are we really translating ESG vision into action? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for all the panelists right here on stage, please. Right after this, we will have just our very last panel for the day, which will be equally interesting. That's our promise. Post which we'll be, of course, requesting everyone to join us for cocktail and dinner. But before that, of course. Right after the acknowledgements, we would also like to get everyone in one frame before we request them to step down from the stage. But before this, I believe we'll have one group photograph, sir. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, can we have a huge round of applause going out to all our panelists right here on stage for our very first panel. Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, we move into the second panel for the day, where we will be deliberating on the topic stakeholder capitalism, the new voices shaping the future of business. The session will be moderated by Ms. Gauri Dwivedi, Senior Editor at the Economic Times. Can we have a huge round of applause for her, please? Joining us on this panel will be Joe Fallon, Executive Director, APAC, World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Robert Jernau, Global Head of Corporate Engagement, S&P Global. Gina Malhotra, Global Chief Technology Officer, CIPLA. Gauthier Eckert, Global Lead Partner, Global ESG COO, KPMG. Abanti Sankaranarayanan, Chief Group Public Affairs Officer and Member, Group Executive Board, Mahindra Group. Can we give it up for the panelists on stage, please? And I will be, of course, handing over the stage to our moderator, Gauri, to take the discussion forward.
Thank you for that. No, this one isn't working. Yeah. So this is the session that is between cocktails and dinner for the audience. We'll try and keep it not just short, but also crisp. And this session essentially is what ESG is all about. A lot of ground to cover, very little time at hand. That's essentially what this topic is all about as well, which is addressing all stakeholder concerns and address the various issues that are at hand. I'll try and club issues into 3 or 4 broad themes and try and get as many answers as possible, which is around how regulations need to be kept at pace with what is happening around the world, how investors view the changes as far as ESG is concerned. Will money actually follow if ESG disclosure mechanism is made robust? And also whether technology can help us actually track any of those impacts that we hope to achieve. That's broadly the themes that we have, and that's where I would request all of you to also come in and make this more interactive. Let me start with you, Mr. Joe Fallon, which is that when we talk about ESG, we want it to be embedded as far as doing business is concerned. Eventually, we want companies to have or strive at least for profit with purpose. From your vantage point, do you see that companies are striving for that goal? Has the needle really moved? And what about India? Where do you see India in terms of this global aspirational journey that we are all undertaking right now?
Great, thank you. Yeah, good, it's coming on. So thank you very much. My name is Joe, and it's a pleasure to be back in Mumbai. I work for the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. We work with about 230 companies globally. 4 of them are headquartered in Mumbai, and a 5th is ITC, who built and operate this property. So I can't say it's my home, but it does feel good to be here. So I think that India Inc. Is clearly very well positioned, and that's because there is a very robust framework now with BRSR, which is contextually appropriate, but has the right level of interoperability. I think that there are a number of well-run companies that have been well-run for a long period of time and understand how to make disclosures. There's a caveat though, because of course, so much of the economy is concentrated in SMEs, and I'm going to come back to that. And there's also very strong support from government, and we have seen that today. And that's not only because of the excellent job that KPMG did in organizing this event, but there's real interest, and that's been over a long period of time. And the commendable goals on renewable energy and progress, whilst actually they could be even more ambitious, or the transformations that are going on, that are underway, that we heard about from the Honourable Minister Irani with the UID and the number of bank accounts created. These are all creating the conditions for investment, which has been happening and which continues. But there are some caveats. So while India Inc. is well positioned, and while India Inc. is able to connect, globally, I thought it was really interesting that only 1% of green finance comes here. It's more growth finance. And the thing that's really changed, sustainability's gone mainstream, and there is no arrival point anymore. The pace at which everything is changing for companies is just being ratcheted up and ratcheted up. And that pace is driven by expectations of investors, of governments, of stakeholders, and they are just growing. It's driven by the physical risks, and we heard from Mr. Sinha about the extreme weather events that India has experienced in the last 20 years. We all understand that. So that is changing the landscape at an increasing rate. And then the transition risks, the risks of if you're a power company, if you're providing energy, that being disrupted. If you're a mobility company, you're working to be at the front of the transition to new forms of mobility. So the pace for companies. Let me finish with 2 quick points and say, changes there, but what do you need to think about now, and what do you need to think about next? So right now, the thing that companies around the world are wrestling with most is supply chain connection and supply chain action. And that's going to help with the SME piece here in India. And I would encourage all of you to look up something called the Partnership for Accelerating Carbon Transparency. It's a great platform for understanding and measuring and connecting with your supply chain. And lastly, the thing that's coming is valuation, and there are new models of valuation coming, and that, I think, is something for all of us as businesses to think about. Thank you.
And thank you for sort of keeping your answer in time with the fact that we want to keep it a little short. Okay, so as you mentioned about the expectation bit that will drive ESG landscape in India. And I want to get the global perspective here, both with Mr. Propatondro as well as Gautier on that, which is that how much of the regulatory mechanism you see changing and keeping pace with what is happening, let's say, in the European countries, and also what could be the kind of learnings that we are talking about for India?
Thank you. I feel lucky already my mic is working. Thank you for asking this. I will answer based on the S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment that we conduct globally with 13,000 companies. And we invite all of these companies to participate. We assess them anyway, but if they do participate, then we assess them based on their disclosures, which could be what they are required to disclose and what they voluntarily disclose in addition. And we have seen a massive change around the world, but also in India over the last 5 years in what companies are willing to disclose. Some of these drivers might be regulation that is in the pipeline, and especially in India, we saw a great push of the BRSR regulation that is coming for the 1,000 largest companies, that they are preparing for that, obviously, with improving their disclosure ahead of that. In terms of our assessment, we saw that 5 years ago, only 18 Indian companies participated, and that increased to 130 last year. So there's a massive move of the large companies to really step up the game and be comparable to their peers in how they're disclosed. So it's not just for multinationals that national regulation is a driver, but you could say the regulation in the jurisdiction in which they operate in or which they trade with that has the highest level that is setting somewhat the baseline. You see that push now with EU taxonomy that will impact not just EU companies, but it will have an impact on suppliers of these EU companies as well. And that is what we see in the assessment.
So you want to come in?
I mean, 2 or 3 things I want to say. First, I mean, thanks for your patience. Also, I mean, I read somewhere that there are 700 languages that are being spoken here in India. So apologies for my French accent. So you'll have to bear with for the next, few seconds or whatever. But I think I want to start with a very positive message based on what we heard. There is a very specific ESG context here in India. India, as you all know, is the place where you've got the largest population in the world, and yet it's facing a number of issues from a scarcity of resources. It's 2.4% of the land. It's 4% of the freshwater resources. It has like a number of challenges. But at the same time, it's come a long way. It's made a lot of great progress. And with India being at the G20, and its presidency, it's got an opportunity to make a huge difference as well. So you've got an economic power that is strengthening. At the same time, you're attracting a lot of foreign direct investments. And this is, for me, like an opportunity for great collaboration, great partnership. And I think that there's a lot for us to learn from what's happening here in India. And then that's actually why we at KPMG, globally, we see it as super important for us to provide support to our teams here in India and make sure that we help our clients succeed. So now to your point about the regulation, I think it's here to stay. We interviewed like CEOs again this year, and 79% of the CEOs here in India, they expect greater regulation around ESG topics. So I think this is here to stay. And there's a say where you basically say that you can't change the direction of the wind, but you just need to adjust the sails. And I think that a lot of the companies, they need to just plan, but also train their people, because that's what's going to be very important, in my view, in terms of embedding some of the ESG activities in everything that is being done.
You're right about the fact that India's G20 presidency is also aimed to pitch itself, present itself as a climate leader, and also present opportunities as far as being the voice of the global south in terms of the whole fight as far as climate change is concerned. In terms of how companies and how CEOs are preparing for the next wave as far as and the next change as far as ESG is concerned, we've got two specific companies, and I want both of you to share the ESG changes, transformations that have taken place in your companies, in Cipla as well as M&M. And Ms. Gina, why don't you start, and then we get Mr. Banti as well.
Thank you, Gauri. At Cipla, the ESG initiative is a very young initiative. And so when you're young, you can be more bold. So we really took very bold aspirations. For Cipla, right from the inception, Cipla has all been about caring for life. And we were guided by this principle where we started using the same for articulating our ESG position, where we call it CARE. That's about championing climate positivity, accelerating well-being in the community, raising the bar for governance, and enhancing access and availability and affordability. And so we took this goal of having by 2025 for our scope 1 and scope 2 to be carbon neutral, water neutral, and zero waste to landfill. So very, very bold. But I think that it also propelled us to do many new things. It allowed us to, and actually when I think about what this aspiration made us do was accelerate our entire operations footprint, look at it very differently, make it more leaner, make it more automated. And these were fundamentally the things that were underlying for us to get into our ESG goals. And so we've been looking at it very holistically. We're not only looking at just the carbon emissions, we're looking at AMR, we are looking at educating our people, we are looking at green chemistry, we're looking at green processes. We're also looking at focusing, while we focus on ESG, we're also looking at leveraging our CSR foundation for providing healthcare services and education to the underprivileged. While we did take our aspiration for water neutrality, a lot of our water harvesting programs are running in states where our facilities are available. So it's for the community around our facilities as well. And with all of this, we needed to have a very robust governance around it. And I think that Cipla has been among one of the companies that has, actually invested in the BRSR ahead when it was still voluntary. So when we started looking at this, we looked at areas where we could make immediate impact because it was also about energizing the entire organization towards it. Early wins just gets everybody's buying in as well. So we looked at our energy efficiency initiatives. We looked at solar. We looked at the way we are running our plants. We looked at even changing our lights to LEDs, for example, right? We looked at our waste management. We looked at going paperless. So all of this we saw very quickly. We saw an impact that from our baseline, we already had about 28% reduction in our carbon emissions. But one of the biggest learnings for me through this was, one is that, it needs the leadership's commitment in it.
Absolutely.
Right? And, our CEO and the top leadership is fully committed. In fact, all the sustainability goals are embedded in our business strategy and they drive us through the organization. The second is communication. I think you have to communicate extensively to all your stakeholders. That was another big learning. Whether it's your goals, whether it's the progress, whether it's the actions that you're going to be taking internally as well as externally. The third was collaboration. That worked very well as well. And then education and training.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Banti, please.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually going to start by just saying, sharing something which shows how ESG for us has been absolutely a key driver for getting external investment from impact investors. And I think that kind of makes a plug for the business case for ESG. So last year in July, British International Investment invested $250 million in our electric SUV business as a separate company.
at a valuation of $9.1 billion. And this was before we had made and sold even one electric SUV. And the reason BII as an impact investor came in was simply the track record of the Mahindra Group in ESG. So I think that's a big, kind of plug I would like to make for why there is a very sound business case. I think the other transformation for us over time has been moving from a sustainability goal of net zero to a more comprehensive, wide-ranging, what we call planet positive. And within that, a big shift from just greening our operations through the usual suspects of emission reduction, waste, water, etc., to actually being a force for good for decarbonizing entire industries. So obviously mobility through electric vehicles, power through renewable energy, being in these businesses ourselves, even for real estates through green buildings, sustainable tourism through Mahindra Holidays. So actually becoming a catalyst for decarbonizing the industries in which we operate. So that's been a major shift. And the third shift has been moving further and faster on reporting and disclosures from just what is mandated, which is BRSR, to actually a whole swath of credible reporting agencies such as MSCI, CDP, DJSI, even WEF, stakeholder, World Economic Forum stakeholder capitalism metrics. So that's what I would say. Thanks.
Quick questions and really appreciate short answers on this, which is, Gautier, let me start with you, which is that in terms of best practices that India can emulate from Europe, what would you sort of highlight as the key practices or key areas that you would expect Indian companies to sort of emulate?
So you're talking about like best practices from Indian companies or for Indian companies? So because I think, best practices from an ESG standpoint, as I mentioned, there's a lot of, learnings from what is happening here in India, whether, it's from your startup ecosystem, it's from, how you, in healthcare, how you manufactured vaccine and distributed them, or even from a campaign standpoint, what's with the life program. There's a lot of learnings from that. From a company standpoint, I think, the 2 points I was making around planning and training are really critical in my view, because, if you want ESG to be embedded in the companies, you need, your employees to be, performing their activities with the ESG lens. And in order to do that, training is critical in my view.
Mr. Perrin, investors can be a very powerful, a set of body who can really influence as far as how ESG mechanism gets incorporated as far as companies are concerned. Do you envisage funds flowing in to particular sectors and more to, let's say, Indian companies if we were to really climb up the ESG ladder, so to say? And how do we compare vis-a-vis, let's say, the other emerging countries when it comes to us doing better on the ESG parameters?
Thanks. Well, that's the goal, and it's a competitiveness issue for the country. And certainly, there's a lot of finance looking for homes. I said earlier, India is definitely very well positioned, but yeah, not yet realizing. There's great examples, but not yet realizing, full potential in terms of accessing that capital. That's certainly the goal.
Ms. Palhotra, one of the key issues that has been said again and again is about how can we really measure the impact that ESG brings in, right? That's the whole aspect. Do you think technology could provide answers in those domains?
I certainly think that environmental sustainability is being impacted significantly by digitization and adopting digital. If you look at it, maybe even 5 years ago, we would have found it very difficult to put our arms around what our environment footprint is, right? But today, with all the technology that we have, the sensorization that we have, the IIoTs that we have, we're able to have so much data, analyze that data, right? And which means that in a very dynamic manner, you are able to do a course correction in making our systems more efficient and effective. So I do see a big play in adoption of digitization in ESG.
And Mr. Dorno, I want to ask you about, there have been regulations galore, so to say. There have been bodies that have been instituted. And one thing when I was speaking to several experts is about how we need standardization to be able to monitor and to be able to compare. Is that something that you expect in the next couple of years to shape up?
Well, first of all, let me say that S&P Global from the top down, from our CEO, is very much committed to standardization and transparency in ESG, but we also see that sustainability is a moving target and that standards sort of develop after the market. And even when you have a standard, the standard is not measuring performance. So for example, you could be a top GRI reporter. That means you tick all the boxes of what is required in a GRI report, but it doesn't look at how good is your performance on the issues that you are transparently reporting about. So with us in the assessment, what we do in the corporate sustainability assessment is we take standards, we adopt questions that we already have to not put an additional burden on companies, but reflect the same requirements, KPIs as in the standard, but then we also assess the performance on that. And we look at underreported and emerging trends that are not yet ready for standards. And unfortunately, I see that continuing.
And finally, Ms. Abante, I want to ask you this, that when you talk about the Indian economy, we talk about there are, of course, the large corporates. You are a representative of the large corporates, but India is also the SME capital of the world. And for ESG to really make the kind of impact we wanted to, SMBs need to be on the same page. How soon do you think we can see that happening? And is that going to be, I know it's BRSR has just started, it's just kicked in, but in your assessment, where do you see that in the next couple of years?
Well, I think large corporates like ourselves can actually play a catalyst role in bringing along the SMEs, starting with our own sort of supplier and then, distributor kind of ecosystem, right? So both basically scope 3 kind of emissions. And so I think that actually is going to be kind of the starting point in a way. Because if companies like us start taking action as we have to just get our own ecosystem, into action, I think that can be a very good sort of force.
All right. With that, we come to an end of this session. Tried to cover as much ground as possible. And thank you so much to the panelists. And hopefully next year when we meet, we talk about so much more ground that has already been achieved and covered by the economy.
Yeah, and thank you very much, all of you, for this wonderful discussion. May I request Chairman KPMG India, Ajay Mehra, to come on and felicitate the panelists. Ajay. Thank you all once again, and thank you, Ajay. Uh, that was our last session for the day. ESG is a journey. India Inc. has made a beginning, and already significant steps have been taken. Much more needs to be done. It's very apparent. KPMG India has made this first effort to recognize the efforts and encourage Indian corporates in its 30th year of KPMG in India. And this work will continue for months, years, decades to come.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I think let's just come here in the middle. And first and foremost, thank each and every one of you. Can we have a huge round of applause for 30 years of KPMG in India? It's a remarkable feat. Thank you, firstly, to KPMG for organizing an event of this stature. Thank you to the honorable ministers who joined us here. Congratulations to everyone who's held an award right here tonight. Come on, give it up for yourselves. As we kept on mentioning, this is the first edition, and the firsts are always special, so they will remain with us for a very long time. As Manoj rightly said, this is just the beginning. 2024 is going to be even more exciting. So thank you very much for being a part of the same. Thank you for writing history. Thank you for doing all that you're doing in the field of ESG. And with this, we will be inviting you all now to celebrate this moment with cocktails, dinner, and a huge broad smile. So thank you very much. And with this, these will be your MCs for the evening, Sanchali Arora and Manoj.
Thank you. Good night, and see you over drinks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
There was a lot of excitement about choosing who would be the final winner. But I think a sense of responsibility also